When on Cat's Roundtable.
Happy Sunday to you. How about that? That is the way to finish off your year. Lions beat the Packers today, 37-30 down at Ford Field. And look, you put the caveat on it. Of course, this was a team where, Aaron Jones didn't play all game, sat out the whole game. A.J. Dillon is a baller. Like, he's a guy, not necessarily flashy, but he's just going to pick up chunks of yardage. So it was the A.J. Dillon show today for the Packers in the backfield. But look, you had Aaron Rodgers in the first half. You had Devontae Adams in the first half. And look, to me, in terms of the game that was when you look in totality of the season, this game, at least this was a game where you look at and you go, well, they played a full game. Full game. And I understand second half didn't look good. Things were, things were sliding back downhill.
Southbound 75.
But they did what they needed to do to win. That late drive towards the, kind of end of the fourth quarter, about the 6-7 minute mark. That's a big drive. And look, I have always been a proponent, like what the Pistons did last year. That was a tank job, but it was a tank job where you were able to get your young guys some run. They were able to get some experience, and they took some hits, but at the same time they learned what they needed to do to get better. From the Pistons' perspective, they're not doing a very good job of the getting better part, but they tanked the right way. And I think the Lions, which was of course not the goal at the start of the year, but when you lose 3 close games, at some point your mentality changes and you're going to give a lot of guys, younger guys, more of a run. And what you saw is a young core of players, especially that first draft class for this group. They got better. And look, we'll talk about where the Lions are now going to pick as their season's over. We'll talk about what you think should have happened, what you would have liked to have happened in terms of winning this game, which was really meaningless for all intents and purposes, or fighting for that number 1 draft pick. We'll talk about it coming up at 6:05. But it's nice to have you with us here this evening. And look, here's the other part in all of this. As we are dealing with these games kind of as they go on, we'll give you the kind of the best case scenario here. We'll give you as up to the minute live playoff picture as we can paint for you. We'll give it to you as the show goes on, because things really were changing in the NFL today. Game by game, it seemed like every game, like no game went as expected, and you can certainly start with that Jags game, but we'll talk about it. Obviously a lot to do. Oh, and then also we got a national championship game tomorrow in college football, Georgia, Alabama. We'll preview that. We got a lot to do tonight. We got Mike Parsons in tonight. Hi. Jason Fissler. Hello. So we got a lot to do. So stay with us. And then we've got Gridiron Wrap. Sean Belegian, Bill Keenis coming up at 7:05. We got a lot to do tonight. A lot of football on WJR between 6 and 8 o'clock tonight. Feels good.
How are we going to get it all in, Chris?
Let me tell you something. One of my favorite parts about winter is that you can keep beverages outside and they're cold. I love it. It's the best.
Yeah, like if you have a power outage, you'll freeze to death, but you don't have to throw away everything in your fridge.
Right. Don't worry about it. Just put it outside. It's great.
All right, here we come.
It's time for Sports Wrap on 760 WJR.
All right, this is the wrap on 760 WJR.
To a car phone we go. Dave, thanks for hanging on. You're on 760.
Gentlemen, and Steve and Dan, you got the chemistry. It's cooking.
Presented by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel Sports app today. FanDuel, more ways to win.
Are you calling us from your office?
I'm doing SportsCenter tonight with
Are you really?
Dan Patrick.
Well,
Yes.
I'm very impressed. By the way, give Dan our best. He's a good man. And
I will. Hey, Dan, Chuck Swirsky says hi.
This is the best sports wrap has ever been, in my opinion.
Now, here's your host, Chris Renwick.
Well, that's how you finish off a season, eh? A season filled with just stinkers. Like, this season was really rough. It was a rough season. But as I told you, this was a season of building. This was a season of laying that foundation, not what appeared in the win-loss column. That stuff didn't matter. Now, it mattered a little bit in terms of draft position, and we'll talk about that. And the Jaguars' impressive win today against a team that needed to win in Indianapolis. And you want to talk about a stinker. Carson Wentz stinks. I digress. This was a nice win today for the Lions. It was, and look, you understand Aaron Rodgers only played the first half. Devontae Adams only played the first half. Aaron Jones didn't even suit up. This was a team where they wanted to kind of finish out the regular season on a high note, being the Packers, but doing it without their star players. And for much of the season, you feel like, as any other team in the NFL, you could probably trot out your second stringers against the Lions and have a fighting chance. But I think that from a Lions perspective, this was a mission accomplished type of year. And look, next week, we'll focus on what we want to see down the road. And we can do a little bit of that tonight if you want. 800-859-0957. But I think for the most part here, when we autopsy this season, when we go back and look at some of the good things that happen, some of the bad things that need to be corrected, this was a successful season for the Lions. And really, they were in contention in 3 or 4 other games this year that they, really, it's a coin flip on whether or not they could have won those games. You're talking about getting beat on a last-second field goal to set a new NFL record, like that, those kind of crazy things. But this team was competitive all year, and that is because of the mindset. That is because of the values. That is because of what this administration, what this regime, what this coach, GM, what kind of players they're bringing in. This is a really a 180 difference from the last group of decision makers that were in this organization. So from that standpoint, mission accomplished. Now here's the other part in all of this. The Jaguars beat the Colts today. All right, the Colts needed the win to get in. Jacksonville, meanwhile, who's also having a dumpster fire of a season, thanks in part to Urban Meyer, the former coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, they won their 3rd game of the year. They finished the year 3-14. And look, Colts needed a dub. Jacksonville, you'd think, are going to come out and, I told you this yesterday, where these, as much as we as fans say, look, you don't want to win the game, like give yourself an opportunity to land the number 1 pick. When you have the number 1 pick, you have your choice of every single item at the dinner table. But if you go anywhere behind that, maybe the cheeseburger gets taken. I don't know. I'm just saying when you put yourself in that position, you give yourself the most opportunity to succeed.
So
go ahead, Michael.
No, I was going to say, I don't really think they've hurt themselves a whole lot when it comes to the number 1 pick here, because if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be Jacksonville who has the number 1 pick, right?
Correct. That's correct. But Jacksonville put that in danger today. Because if they went out and lost to the Colts, didn't matter what the Lions did, right? Like, we're watching this Lions game progress. The Lions are up by 10 points, whatever it was. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe this team is going to win, when they're showing highlights of the Colts-Jags game and Jacksonville's up by 15 points. Like, yeah. And you're a Lions fan sitting at home going, oh, well, wait a second. Maybe we need the Cheeseheads to come back here and win this thing, because Jacksonville was never expected to win that game. Right. So the Lions, and then I think a lot of the same thoughts with the Lions going into this one. It's like, well, the Lions aren't going to win this game, even if Green Bay sends in their second stringers. And look, it was a competitive game towards the end, But since both team wins, Jacksonville's going to keep that number 1 pick, and the Lions have locked in at number 2.
Yeah, and I'm starting to think that we kind of know what Carson Wentz is at this stage in his career. It's not necessarily. Yeah, it's not necessarily his fault. He did get injured, but Nick Foles was more than capable of winning the Eagles a Super Bowl when he was hurt, and he puts up some nice stats. But today wasn't even a pressure situation. I mean, it should have been a gimme. But I still don't think the Lions really hurt themselves a whole lot because, what's everybody saying? Oh, the Lions need a number 1 pick so they can draft a franchise quarterback. Well, number one, much of the talk about this year's draft class is that there isn't a franchise changing quarterback out there. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true. I mean, nobody was really checking for Patrick Mahomes when he got drafted, and we saw what he ended up being. But Jacksonville has their quarterback. I don't think Jacksonville's taken a quarterback at number 1. So really, it was a lateral move, and I don't really believe in momentum carrying over to the next season. But it was a nice kind of feel-good win at the end of the year, and I think that as frustrated as people get with Dan Campbell, I think most people like him enough that they want to see him succeed, especially after the win over the Vikings and the classy move he made, dedicating that game to the folks of Oxford. I mean, he kind
still
of
wore the O on their helmets all the way throughout the season.
Yeah, so I don't think the Lions really blew anything here winning this game.
No. And Mike, I agree with you. I think my only point in saying that is it was a surprise to see Jacksonville play the way they did today. With all of that being said, though, and look, let me nerd out here for a second. We can talk draft if you want coming up. But I think the ascension of Evan Neal, the offensive lineman out of Alabama, I think specifically at left tackle, I think that has become the biggest priority for Jacksonville. The Lions, they're not in the market for a tackle, okay? They've got 2 bookends that they're very happy with. Whether or not you want to argue one of them should be traded, I don't care to have that conversation. All I'm saying is that's not where the Lions' need is. So if in fact Jacksonville wants that protection for Trevor Lawrence, then the Lions have everything on the table for him. And I think it's important when you look at the needs of this team because they need a lot. So you want Aiden Hutchinson in the Honolulu Blue and Silver, you have that ability. You want Kayvon Thibodeau, who I would prefer, you have that ability too. Maybe you want Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh, right? Like maybe that's your guy. If you want a quarterback, you'll be able to choose your quarterback. So no, I think you're right, Mike. They didn't hurt themselves here, and this was a nice win in terms of continuing to build not only the foundation and not only the mindset and the mentality that this organization wants to have, but think of the way that, again, you're talking about Dan Campbell, a first-year head coach who took over play calling duties halfway through the season, and this has been a learning experience for him too. Can you make an argument that Dan Campbell has progressed every game as a play caller? Can you make the argument that with Anthony Lynn involving his schematic system, and look, it sounds like Anthony Lynn's going to be gone after today. They're just going to part ways. But you can make the argument that Dan Campbell has even progressed as not only a play caller, but as a head coach. That is a good thing when you're seeing that both from the sidelines as a coach and from the players on the field. So I think it's good. I think it's good news. All right, look, we got a lot to do tonight still. We'll get into a little bit more of this game, what this means for the Lions long term, give you an update on what's going on across the NFL. Things are changing rapidly. The playoff picture is changing rapidly. So we'll talk about that next as well. Also, we're going to preview the college football. We're going to preview the college football national title game. Lots to do here tonight on SportsWrap. Chris Renwick on WJR. Don't go anywhere. All right.
Yeah, so I didn't want to break in because this wasn't really a topic. You're making a point, but yeah, Dan Campbell has absolutely progressed as a play caller because it started off so bad.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was bad, and here's look, and from a fan perspective, I think there's a couple things that I really like about this staff. Whether or not this is going to be something that they continue to do long term, but a lot of this happened. A lot of this changed as when it was obvious that there was nothing else to play for. I mean, they were going for fourth downs a lot. They were running trick punts and kickoffs and tons of onside kicks. Like that stuff for me is entertaining. Like whether or not the analytics support a lot of those decisions, which I think they do most of the time. I don't know. I think it's fun. I think it adds a whole new element.
Yeah, you're right. They seem to do better, and I guess this is for most people, that they seem to do better when A, they've got nothing to lose, or B, nobody's expecting them to succeed. I mean, if you remember that Rams game, they came out and they had the Rams on their heels with all those trick plays, and you knew eventually the Rams would straighten it out because the only reason that they were playing so well is because they had to go into the NFL blitz playbook there. But yeah, to your point, that's exactly right.
And again, it's fun to do that against the Packers last game of the season when you got nothing on the line. They've got nothing on the line. Like you're not spoiling anything. But these counter plays, these reverse plays, these wide receiver throws, like I hope that's not something that gets lost as they get better, as they get more talent. I think that all of those things, like that's what's made Andy Reid successful to some extent. The creativity and not limiting yourself to just running the ball on 2 straight plays and then throwing it on third down. Like if you can keep a defense off, on their heels the way that they have, I hope that that's not something that they lose. I don't think it will, but I hope it's not.
Yeah, I think that the one thing, and like I said, it might not be a great sample size because they haven't had anything to lose for most of the season. For all of Dan Campbell's mess ups, he doesn't necessarily seem like he plays scared.
No, I don't think he does either.
There's there's that Pittsburgh game where I had no idea what the heck he was doing, but that seemed kind of like he's playing scared, but overall, he seems like he's all right taking a risk.
Yeah.
You're the co-host on WJR's SportsWrap. Give us a call.
And tomorrow we'll be at Grand Blanc, Warwick Hills, for the Pro-Am, and the state of Michigan has gone absolutely bananas over Tiger Mania.
Now back to more Sports Wrap.
1,000 people today at 7 a.m. to watch Tiger Woods at a practice round.
Presented by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel Sports app today. FanDuel, more ways to win.
I haven't seen this many guys thrown out of anywhere since Dime Beer Night at the local tavern.
Here's Chris.
Here's the other part in all of this, too. 800-859-0957. And Mike brought up a great point in the break. To me, I feel like things have progressed. Like Dan Campbell became a better head coach. Dan Campbell became a better play caller. The players on the field got better, right? Like injuries aside.
You're the coach.
I haven't gotten better.
I think you've been wonderful. Play it again. That's not a mistake. Play it again. Do it again, Michael. There you go. This is what we do here. Here's the thing. Everybody got better. Right? And you're talking about Frank Ragnow out long term. The defensive line was decimated at times. I mean, and then of course you've got, like Jeff Okudah out for the rest of the season. I mean, like they were able to work around the injuries. Look, it's the NFL, you're going to deal with it. But they saw some improvement from a lot of these guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown at the top of the heap, like just got better every single week.
And let me throw something at you, Chris. I didn't throw this at you in the break, so this might go down as a completely stupid thing to say. But once Jared Goff kind of got over that injury from the Pittsburgh game, I feel like it was revealed that maybe Jared Goff wasn't as bad as everybody thought he was in the beginning of the season.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, I think that anytime that you spend an extended period of time with one organization and then have to go to another organization and then have to learn all over again, like Jared Goff is not Matt Stafford. Like Matthew Stafford's IQ, Matthew Stafford's football understanding is high. So for him, he can go, like how many different OCs did Stafford have here, right? Like a bunch. So like all the time.
Jim Bob Cooter one or two guys?
I think he was 3.
Yeah.
I think they were like Prince. Like everybody had their own name.
Right. But, well, on top of that, I mean, everybody knew the roster coming in. Like everybody knew that Jared Goff was surrounded by a largely practice squad roster. And, yeah, he had a hell of a rough season. I mean, but I don't know. I kind of felt that a lot of stuff was kind of being put on the shoulders and blamed on Jared Goff. Someone who he had a bad last season with the Rams, but throughout the rest of his tenure with the Rams, when he was surrounded with a capable cast of characters, he was serviceable to Pro Bowl quality.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's easy when you've got people around you to be successful. It's harder when you don't, right? Like you look at the way and some of the talent that Tom Brady had in New England, especially early in those championships, like good defenses, but like, the Julian Edelmans and the Wes Welkers, like they weren't what they were when they got there. Like they were just like, kind of fringe NFL receivers, slot guys. But Tom Brady turned him into to Pro Bowlers. Tom Brady turned him in to some of the best pass catchers in the league. And putting that on anybody is too much, right? Like what's the old saying here in Detroit? The two most complained about positions is the goalie of the Red Wings and the quarterback of the Lions. Like you're just under a microscope constantly. And yeah, I think Jared Goff having a year here now, and we'll see kind of what happens. Is it possible that Jared Goff is the quarterback of the future? Of course it is, especially in a time in this draft where it doesn't seem like you've got an out-and-out stud at quarterback. But look, this is something that I think this was an improvement game after game. They never kind of held their heads down. They always came out. Look, did they always start fast? No. Did they always have a very good first half? No. But I think in the totality of the season, you saw them get better. Greg in Shelby Township wants to weigh in on the Lions. 800-859-0957. What's up, Greg?
C-Note, Mr. Positive, Michael Parsons, thanks for taking my call. Hey, would you
got it.
say
What's up,
arguably,
Gregory?
Not much. Feeling good. Would you say that this was the best, most complete game besides the Arizona Cardinals? I love the way they're playing, the ingenuity. I think they love playing for Dan Campbell. Mr. Positive thinks that going forward, like you've just articulated, they are going to be a team with a little bit of tweaking, getting some better players to be reckoned with. They love Campbell. I mean, you can tell the exuberance. I just love the way they're playing. And today's game, how many penalties did they have? They just really gelled today, and they played against the best quarterback in the NFL, bar none, and they held their own. And, what can you say? I just thought it was very, very a great game, and I just think going forward, this team is maybe to be reckoned with.
Well, I think we're still a little ways from that. I think we could still be a couple years from being a real, genuine contender. Was this the complete game they played? I don't know. I find it hard to top the Arizona game. But I thought that they played well. Look, when you're playing against, for all intents and purposes, second stringers, look, they're still NFL players, still part of your 53-man roster. But it's not, you don't have Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers for all 4 quarters. Like, I think if that was the mindset, if that was the game plan for the Packers going in, I think you would have saw a different outcome. And I look, I don't know when we're all as a collective football community gonna get on the train here that Jordan Love ain't any good. Like, if you can't come in and at least look competent against this team, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you're in the right line of work anymore. So I just feel like this is a case where the Lions played well today. They got off to a fast start. When they went up 17-0, you're like, wow, all right, here we go. And then the leakage kind of went through. But this is a bend but don't break defense at this point. Like, they're not just coming out and hitting you in the face, maybe like the Rams defenses. This is a slow burn. This is the slow build that this is the point that they're at.
And Chris, I think for as rough as the season started, where there was a point in there after that, I got to tell you, after that Pittsburgh game when Ben Roethlisberger wasn't in and all they had to do was beat Mason Rudolph in a game where it seemed like literally nobody wanted to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
I thought they were not going to win a game. And so for them to end with 3 wins, and I think most people predicted they'd be somewhere between 3 and 5 wins. Yeah. Even though today was, I don't want to call it an empty win, but you're right. For an entire half, they were playing against, the backup squad. For them to kind of meet expectations after kind of that low point in the season, I think that's encouraging. And I feel, I mean, the only thing they couldn't have done was go winless. If they went winless, Dan Campbell would be on the hot seat, and I don't know if the team ever would have recovered. At the beginning of the season, I was almost like, I almost want to just simulate the season. Like, okay, first year of the rebuild, we know they've got, they've got a depleted roster. Let's just see what the record is at the end of the season, and then hope they can build on it for next season. So I think the fact that they ended up winning 3 games after it looked like they might be another 0-for team, I think that's encouraging. I'm not going to get ahead of myself because we kind of have seen this at the end of seasons where the Lions come on strong and it doesn't carry over to next season. Mm-hmm. But today, I think the fact that they had 3 wins, 1.5 of those wins was against playoff teams. I think that's something to at least get you through next season, the off season, without getting too depressed.
Yeah, I think so too. And look, I'll tell you what, we'll take a break. We'll come back, get you updated on what's going on across the NFL, get you caught up on some of the scores, and we'll try to paint the best playoff picture as we can. Things are changing. So we'll get you updated on all of that. We'll also preview the national championship game. That's coming up tomorrow. Georgia, Alabama. I have strong thoughts on that game. We will talk about it as Sports Wrap continues. Chris Renwick here on WJR. Don't go anywhere. Let's see.
Hey, Chris, were the Packers playing for like the number 1 seed, the first round bye today? Were they playing for anything?
No, they had all that locked up. They had all of it locked up.
Right. Wait, I'm actually surprised to see so many starters playing all game. Matt Stafford's still in.
Well,
surprised that Aaron Rodgers was in for an entire half.
Yeah, well, the Rams are playing for something. Like,
what are they playing for?
Well, they're playing for the division.
Oh, because of Arizona.
Right.
Got it.
So if they win or the Cardinals lose, which I gotta look, that game is tied as well. So yeah, no, they're not letting the foot off the gas.
Oh, okay. I wish I could have.
It's interesting because it's interesting because there's still so much up in the air, right? Like that's kind of what makes. And it's kind of been that way all season. Like, just when you think Arizona's going to run away with the whole darn thing, like, they kind of falter, they stumble, and here comes the Rams. And when the Rams are looking like the team to beat, then they kind of falter. And then the 49ers win some games, and it's like, oh, they're in the mix. So it's like, and the 49ers are playing for a spot too. So, like, there's a lot here where it's like, just when you think everybody has kind of separated themselves, nobody has.
SportsWrap, presented by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel Sports app today. FanDuel, more ways to win. Here's Chris Renwick.
All right, I want to get you caught up on what's going on in the NFL, because this has been a strange year where it's like there hasn't been the team, right? Like, everybody was left dumbfounded with what Kansas City had been through like the first half of the season. And then they start rattling off game after game after game, win after win after win. And you're like, oh, well, this is kind of what we expected. Like, everything has kind of, like, this has been a very, like, even-keeled season where everybody's kind of together. Like, everybody's kind of on the same playing field, which is what the NFL, I think, loves. But, like, yeah, the Pats are 10-6, the Dolphins 8-8. The Rams 12-4, the Niners are 9-7. The Bills are 10-6, the Jets are 4-2. Not a great example, but you understand. The Falcons 7-9, Saints 8-8. Right? Like, everybody is kind of, they're all kind of in the same room. They're all kind of together. Nobody is 14-2 playing against a 2-win team. You know what I mean? Which has been a really interesting part in this season. So I want to get you caught up on what the playoff picture looks like as we stand right now. 6:33 Sunday night. Packers are in. We knew that. Didn't matter what happened with this Lions game today. They are the number 1 team in the NFC. They've got a wild card bye. They're the number 1 team. They got home field advantage in Lambeau, which is a huge advantage for the Packers. All right, so that we know. A game that's in progress right now has some implications. The Rams and the 49ers. The Rams got out to a 17-point lead. The 49ers rambled off their own 14. Like, this is an interesting game to be following, just about to start the fourth quarter, all tied up. Here's what's at stake. The Rams, they're in the playoffs. But if they win, or if the Cardinals lose, they'll win the conference. That's, winning the NFC West, which has been kind of it's been probably the best division in football. So winning that is important for the Rams. That gets them, you'd be finishing number 2 essentially behind Green Bay. That's important. So that game is in progress. End of the third quarter, all tied up at 17. Rams with the ball. Now, I mentioned the Cardinals. Cardinals, Seahawks, also in progress right now. The Cards are 11-5, and they're 17-17 with about 11 minutes to play in the third quarter. Again, there are implications. They are in the playoffs, but they are looking to win this game, and they need a Rams loss. That would win them the NFC West. But that would basically vault them to number 2. So that's important as well. Then you've got Tampa Bay, who in the NFC looks like they could finish 2, they could finish 3, they could finish 4. They're right in that zone. They're up on the Panthers right now, 17-7, with about 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. Dallas is in. They are the NFC champs. They are in. They could go anywhere from number 2 to number 4, depending on how things shake out. Philly in the playoffs, even after the Cowboys drubbed them up last night, 51-26. Again, Philly's either 6 or 7 seed. That's it. At number 7, as we stand now, New Orleans is in. Talked about the Saints a couple of minutes ago. They're on the road in Atlanta. They got a 24-6 lead over the Falcons in the third quarter. They got to win. They need the 49ers to lose. That would get them in the 7th spot. They're not in yet. So they need a win, which they're on their way to doing, and they need the 49ers to lose. Again, 49ers, Rams, all tied up at 17. So New Orleans, according to ESPN, they've got a 69% chance to make the playoffs. That would put them in the wild card. Now, San Fran is on the outside looking in at the moment. So lots of teams in that NFC West that are in the mix. In the AFC, again, you're looking at some of these teams, and I think that with Tennessee locking everything up the way they did, winning against Houston today, I look, what Tennessee has done without Derrick Henry, he didn't play today, but it looks like he's going to be back in the playoffs, is nothing short of a miracle. I mean, it's amazing what the Titans have done. So the Titans are in at the number 1 spot. Kansas City checks in at number 2. They beat the Broncos last night as well, 28-24. So they are slotted in at number 2. In the number 3 spot, let me turn my volume down here for some reason. The Bills, they have already clinched a playoff spot, and they are in at number 3. Again, you look at just kind of where the differences are between the NFC and the AFC. Cincinnati is in. They won the AFC North last week. First time they're going to make the playoff appearance since 2015. Last time they won a divisional title, too. Again, Cincinnati's in net number 3 or number 4. They're not a lot of wiggle room there. The Patriots are in the playoffs. First time minus Tom Brady. Again, New England beats Miami today. The Bills lose to the Jets. The Pats jump into the top 4. If not, they're in at number 5. Bills are on top of the Jets right now, 13-7. The Chargers, they can't win the AFC West, but they control their own fate. Chargers will make the playoffs if they win or tie, but if they lose, they're out. Give you an update on that game. That game is tonight at 8:20. So they got the Raiders. We'll talk about them momentarily. Pittsburgh can't win the AFC North, but with that win today over Baltimore, 16-13 in overtime, Steelers need the Chargers and Raiders game not to end in a tie. So whatever happens, it doesn't matter as long as they don't tie. Pittsburgh's in. Now, right now, as we stand, Vegas is on the outside looking in, the Raiders. Again, can't win the division, but they've got less than a 50% chance to make the playoffs according to ESPN. They got to win or tie. Like, this has been a wild NFL season where there has been so much parity in the sense of there has been nobody just out and out better than anybody else. I will say the team I'm most impressed with this year has been Tennessee. I just find what they have done without arguably the best running back in the NFL to be remarkable. I find it to be really something special. And look, as the playoffs progress, we'll talk about these wild card matchups. Once everybody gets seated, once everybody is at their proper seat at the table, and we'll talk about it right here on Sports Wrap. In the meantime, we've got a national championship game tomorrow in college football. Georgia, Alabama. And we'll talk to Sean Belegian coming up here momentarily. We'll get his thoughts on it as well. Mike, I don't know how dialed you are to the college game, but I think that when you look at this game, first of all, let's take it from a talent perspective. All right. I do not believe this year's Alabama team is the best team in college football. I don't. But I don't think you can discredit Nick Saban. Like, I think Nick Saban is a wild card that you gotta always keep that in mind when you're talking about Alabama and a national championship possibility.
Yeah. And I mean, Chris, number one, nothing excites me less than Alabama versus Georgia rematch in the national championship. But
I know.
It is what it is. And I got to, for me, it's so hard to peg college football. And I'm not doing this to bust your chops. I just remember, the lead up to the playoff games. Everybody knew that Alabama was going to beat Cincinnati.
Yep.
And then there's the back and forth was between Georgia and Michigan. And for all the talk about how, Michigan was playing hot and how they have a chance to, it seems like a lot of people actually talked themselves into believing that Michigan might actually win that game. Once the game was played, Georgia just popped that like a weather balloon. And I think you're right. I feel like once upon a time, Nick Saban sold his soul to the devil.
I believe. Hey, I'm just saying. I don't know what this guy does.
Right. He's going to live forever.
Yep.
And, Dabo Sweeney might get a championship here and there. But other than that, he's going to live to be 500 years old and win the college football national championship every year.
Yeah. Yeah. But look, here's the thing that I think that again, are they the most talented team? They are not. Georgia is by far a more talented football team. They've got better players. Okay. It's the fact of the matter. Here's the other thing that I think works in Georgia's favor. That loss in the SEC championship game, I think really drives them. I think at this point, nothing against Michigan, but they didn't care about Michigan. The only thing that they cared about with Michigan is getting the win. Nothing else mattered. They wanted Alabama again because of the way, not only the way that Alabama beat Georgia in the sense that, Georgia's first loss on the season was to win the SEC, but it was the way in which they did it. They beat them. Like, they beat them into the ground. And then when they were in the ground, they poured dirt on them. You know what I mean? Like, it was an absolute stomping.
Right. Georgia's Michael Myers, Alabama's Laurie Strode, and Michigan was just the teenager that got in their way.
Exactly right. That's the perfect analogy here on Sports Wrap. I love that. All I'm saying is that I think this Georgia team, with all of the fuel, with all of the with the talent that they have, I just do not see how they lose this game. Even with Nick Saban and Alabama and the whole thing, I don't think Alabama can win this football game. Like, they could beat Georgia the one time, but I just think Georgia's coming. Like, they're angry, they're upset, and I think they're coming. And I think, I don't think it's going to be as kind of the blowout that it was against Michigan, but I think Georgia gets this thing done in Indianapolis tomorrow night at the college football playoff, at the college football national championship game. I'm calling my shot. It's all I can do, Mike. It's all I can do. I can point into the stands with my bat. That's it. That's all I got. I don't see it any other way, but certainly we'll watch it. We'll keep you up to date next week. In the meantime, we've got Gridiron Wrap coming your way at 7:05. We'll be joined by Sean Belegian. We'll talk about the line. We got a lot to do still. We got a lot to talk about with Sean. We'll do it next right here on Sports Wrap on WJR. Chris Renwick in this evening. More to come next. Don't go anywhere.
Sean just pops into the session, right, Chris? I don't know what's going on the with the Bucs. They keep showing the sidelines and Bruce Arians and Tom Brady talking to each other. I wonder if they're taking Brady out of the game or something. I think your mic is off.
Oh, my mic is off. Dang it. Let me see here.
Yeah, it's on the TV in the studio that doesn't have sound, so I couldn't pop it. But they showed Bruce Arians talking to Tom Brady. Tom Brady looking annoyed, and then they keep cutting to Tom Brady looking annoyed on the sidelines.
Uh-oh. Let's see.
I think Tom Brady is about to throw his clothes into the stands and walk out.
That would be great, and dance through the end zone with the peace sign up.
That's right. Show us solidarity.
Right. Let's see.
I mean, I could be totally misreading the situation, but it looks like there's something going on the sideline.
Yeah. Trying to pull it up. Let's see. Tom Brady.
Maybe Sean's watching. Sean, are you watching? Are you watching? Which game are you watching right now?
Hey, Shawnee.
I was. What's up, boys? I was watching the Rams, but I just turned it off.
Oh, okay. I was just telling Chris. I could be misreading this. They keep showing Bruce Arians saying something to Tom Brady on the sidelines, and Tom Brady looking annoyed. I'm wondering if they're just taking him out for the rest of the game. But I said to Chris, I could be completely misreading the situation.
Can I tell you one of my favorite accounts to follow on Twitter?
What's that?
It's my favorite Twitter account to follow. It's at Did Cleveland Win? And
really?
it's a picture of the dog, and then the above it just says Did the Browns win? And every Sunday or every time the Browns play, they tweet one word answer, yes or no. Every single it is the greatest.
How many followers does it have? I bet it's just got a stupid amount.
They have 9,000 followers.
Okay, I'm modest. I that's not like something like millions of people would stupidly follow.
It's the best. It is the best. Although sometimes I went through. I think it was either this year or last year. Yeah, like back in 2018, October 29th, 2018, Did the Browns win? Tweeted, yes, today we fired Hugh Jackson. We all won. But everything else is no, yes, no, no, no.
5750 is the hard out, Chris.
Download the FanDuel
All right.
Sports app
Just
today.
hit the music
FanDuel,
at
more
56.
ways to win.
Yeah, you got it.
Chris Renwick.
The Lions win today. And I think in terms of what this team is looking at in the draft, I don't think they lose out on anything. I think Mike Parsons brought up a great point. Look, if you want a quarterback, you'll have your selection. If you want a defensive end, you've got your choices. Doesn't look like they're going to want Evan Neal because they've got their bookend tackles. Like, all of those things are irrelevant. So if you want a defensive end, you're going to have your pick of the litter. You want a quarterback, it's there for you. So I think in terms of Sean Baligian, kind of the discussion on whether or not you want that first pick or whether or not you want to win this game against Green Bay, I think the way that they won this game today, I thought it was fun. I thought it was actually one of the 2 games this year where we actually had some fun with it.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I mean, what are you going to do at number 1? Are you going to take Aiden Hutchinson? Are you going to take Kayvon Thibodeau? Those seem to be the 2 names that are at the top of the list right now. Mm-hmm. Could you say that the difference between them is minuscule? Sure. For me, Chris, it's about taking care of a bunch of picks. It isn't. Yeah. This isn't a 1 pick away type of situation. I don't think that this team was built for success at all. And quite frankly, I don't think next year that they're built for success. They're playing the long game. And I know you and I talked about it at the beginning of the year. They're playing the long game. Mm-hmm. Let's see what happens in 2023. That's when I'm intrigued. Do they take a flyer on a quarterback later? Maybe. But I have a feeling, just one man's guess, I have a feeling that they look at that franchise quarterback in the 2023 draft. Let's see.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And again, here's the thing is this season was not about wins and losses. We have talked about this all year. And I think that the players got better. Amon-Ra St. Brown got better. Oh. Those guys on the defensive line got better. Ife Melifonwu got better. A lot of these guys have gotten better. And I think somebody else who got better was Dan Campbell. I think week after week, not only playing calling plays, but I think in terms of game management, I thought he did a better job every week. Does the team need to show up in the first half of a lot of games? Yep, they sure do. But at the same time, feel like they've established a base of what it's going to take to play here, the type of player they're looking for, and they progress throughout the year. So I understand 3 wins. That's nothing exciting and nothing that we're going to throw a parade for, obviously. But there is progress. And when it comes down to the importance of this draft, look, I think they're all important. I think you got to do it at a high level year after year, but this is a big year for this draft. This is a big year for this administration to find the right guys. Last year, you're coming in new. You're just trying to find a couple of guys that are going to play for you. A lot of them did. Now you got to really, you got to put all this together, and you got to bring some guys in this draft that are going to play here for the long term.
No, that's exactly it. And, I'm one of those guys, Chris, I'm not going to lie to you. I have probably done 20 mock drafts already with the mock draft simulator because I have no life as I'm sitting here watching the 4:00 games. But no, it's, you know what? It's, hey, listen, there are quality players to be had. I mean, if they don't do, you and I have probably talked about this over the years. The amount of times that teams talk about trading down and the amount of times that it happens are 2 entirely different numbers. If you don't play the trade down game, because, some of them allow for trade options to be made, you're looking at, a guy like Aiden Hutchinson or Thibodeau and, maybe Treylon Burks, the fine wide receiver from Arkansas at 30. And then you come right back at 34 as well. And you can get an edge guy or, maybe one of the linebackers out there. And I mean, that's the position that they're in because, I mean, let's face it, Chris, the needs are aplenty. All the talk about culture this year, and I buy every one of them. I really do. Yeah. Let's also remember there is going to be a pretty massive turnaround with this roster, not just next year. I'm looking again long-term at the next couple of years.
Well, here's the other part too. The dirty secret is you don't build your team off first-round draft picks, right? No, you're talking about middle round, late round picks. You got to hit on those. You got to find guys undrafted free agents that you're able to go and make ball players. They've done some of that already. And so that's nice to see. You got to do it year after year, right? Like Seattle, that was Seattle's calling card when they won their Super Bowl, when they were really playing at a high level. You go and get players deep in the draft that are going to be impact players for you. It's not easy, right? It's not a recipe that that most organizations can take because it's incredibly difficult. So I don't know if they go after a quarterback this year. I don't think they do, but it's possible. I think that they're going to continue to roll with Jared Goff as the bridge gap until they find somebody long term, which isn't a bad option. But I'm really encouraged with where this team is at. I'm excited to see how this offseason progresses and kind of the pieces they're looking at.
I'm going to say it again, and they acted accordingly all year. I think for the first time, they looked in the mirror and said, okay, we don't look good. We have got to do this the right way. And they're playing the long game. They're doing it the right way. And if the early indicators are in of Brad Holmes being able to find that so-called value that you just spoke of, then I'm with you. I'm really excited to see the progression of this and what this might be in 2023.
Georgia, Alabama tomorrow. As a poor Michigan fan, and as hurtful as it is for me to say, I think, look, Alabama's a good football team. I don't think they're better than Georgia. I think Georgia is dealing with a better set of players. I think Georgia's got that chip on their shoulder where Alabama smacked them around. They thought that SEC championship game was theirs. They were the kings of the Southeastern Conference, and Alabama came in and roughed them up. I think this is a Georgia Bulldog natty all the way.
I can't get that game out of my mind. I watched that game and watched the relative ease that Alabama went down the field. And if I didn't see that game, I think I'd agree with you. But, boy, Chris, they just went up and down the field on that ferocious defense, and I can't get that image out of my mind. Bama by 3.
Oh, look at that. Call on your shot. Love it, Shawnee. I assume you're talking Lions. I assume you'll dabble a little national championship game tonight on Gridiron Wrap coming up, correct?
Looking forward to it. Thanks, buddy.
All right. Sean Belegian and Bill Kiedis coming up next on Gridiron Wrap 705. Don't go anywhere. That's going to do it for us tonight. Have a wonderful week. We'll catch you next weekend right here on Sports Wrap, 6 o'clock Saturday. Have a good one.
All right, Chris.
All right, Michael, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep, nice doing the show with you. Talk to you during the week.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good week. See you later.
Bye.